This is Rating Descending.
where we watch IMDb's Worst 250 so you don't have to.
I'm Michelle St. Clair.
I'm Abigail Ward.
And this week, we watched Fantastic Four. Four young outsiders teleport to an alternate and dangerous universe which alters their physical form in shocking ways. The four must learn to harness their new abilities and work together to save Earth from a former friend turned enemy.
Wow.
Let's watch. I got the new AirPods the other day, which is not normally a noteworthy thing, but I was also not expecting them to immediately change the quality of my day so much. And I think that's okay. Just for like listeners at home, Abby would already partly know this, but just so you know, I wear headphones or earphones near constantly, just to make it through everything. I find it very easy to get distracted, and I find listening to podcasts or music turns off a lot of background noise in my brain and helps me like do simple tasks like get dressed and clean the house, you know, just like normal things. But obviously like headphones would always like sit on my head a lot and make me very self-conscious, and like earphones are great, and you know people have been using them for years, but also the cords are irritating. It means I can't put my phone far away, and then I get distracted by my phone itself so much. And literally just like the simple thing of like the AirPods being wireless and comfy in my ears, and also like this is a huge thing for me, is that I can listen to it quietly without it being just tinny. You know that sound of like when you have earphones and it's down really quiet, it just sounds really annoying in your ear?
Yeah.
The AirPods can get quiet without it just being really annoying in my ear. And so I can like continue to have them on whilst I'm also listening to other things happening.
Look, I'm not the best person to talk to about quality of anything because everything sounds and looks the same to me, to be honest.
What
like,
the fuck?
I just like maybe if I got new AirPods, I would be like, oh wow, there's a difference. But when you're like, you know, when it goes low and it's quiet and tinny and bad, not really, because I'm just like, this is just what it sounds like, and I can't compare it to anything else, so I can't criticize.
It's just wild to me how much you, as someone who really likes movies and music, doesn't fundamentally notice or see a difference in visual or audio quality.
I don't. I enjoy the content. I don't really notice any of the peripheral things.
But you're not even seeing or hearing the peripheral things without it.
Yeah, but if someone pointed these things out to me when you said it, I was like, yeah, I think it probably is like that. But I've never stopped and thought about the quality of my AirPods. I take them as they are because they are all I have, and they are God. They are my religion. I don't question it. I go with it. And I'm like, this is the best product ever. I love my AirPods.
It's funny how we've started just talking about quality, because I was coming at it from the perspective almost like as an accessibility device. Like, it's crazy how much small objects like that can be accessibility devices, even when that's not their primary function.
I had a really stressful day yesterday at work. I was in the office and I was getting really overwhelmed by noises because I was just so stressed. This guy was just coughing nearby, and his coughing was agitating me to the point of me being like, I don't know if I can sit near this guy. Like, I might need to move entirely just because this guy's just coughing all the time. And it's not his fault, but I'm about to have a fucking like nervous breakdown because he's coughing near me for other reasons. I tried these like noise cancelling headphones that my friend gave me, and I just hated the way they felt to me. I'm like, even though these are noise cancelling, this isn't making me feel better because I'm not liking it on my head. Yeah. So I just went back to my AirPods and I was like, yeah, I can still hear people around me. And I did notice like it's a different audio. I didn't know if it was better or worse. I was just like, it sounds different. But I put them in and I was able to just, I was like, I can't listen to anything light or tinkly. I was like, what the fuck do I need? I need some kind of audio to make me feel better. And then I just put on really heavy death metal and it made me feel so much better. I was like, I need something angry with like an incessant beat. And I need it to drown out everything else. So I just put on this like death metal that was like again and again. It was black metal really. And it just helped me so much. Like, it repaired my mood within half an hour. I was just like, oh, it just gives you that audio clarity. It gives you the space audibly to relax and unwind, even if you're still working. You just don't have to hear peripheral things anymore. It was very good.
That's why for a long time I liked things with like a really good beat. Like I would listen to a lot of Daft Punk and LCD Sound System, even though I don't like the environments that you're supposed to listen to that music, just because like it really helps my brain like tap into that groove and like block everything else out.
Exactly. It's like black metal and death metal is good study music. It's good working music because it's just so monotonous at a certain point, but so constant that it's like it just keeps you motivated, but you don't have to pay attention to it.
Yeah.
And then occasionally it'll be like,
what do you in the northern sky? The face of evil. What are you doing? What are you wearing? Tell me.
and then someone's like, oh. That's when it gets atmospheric. It's good shit.
Well, you didn't answer my question.
What are you wearing?
I'm trying to be the black metal goblin.
This is me trying to put on black metal yesterday to come down from my panic attack.
Hello.
The black metal goblin.
Good to see you again.
To get access to work, you need to answer these riddles 3.
I just won't work then.
Oh.
See ya. Just pack my shit up and go home.
No.
I only need the slightest of prompting, and I'm gone.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But speaking of wanting to leave unprompted,
Speaking of what is fair,
hey, this week we watched Fantastic Four, or should I say, according to the promotional material, Fant4stick.
what the fuck?
They did that where the T is a 4.
Yeah.
You know, well, no.
It's the A is a 4.
The A is the A is you know, the letter that looks like a 4.
Yeah.
A.
Kind of it does. A little. I see it.
I don't know. If you see the poster, you'll go, God, they did not make that 4 look anything like an A. I hate it so much because it just begs me to pronounce it that way, it being Fant4stick.
This film was really nothing to me.
It surprises me how much it was nothing to you because of how utterly atrocious it is.
It is atrocious, but I was like, it wasn't atrocious enough. There was something about it. I had to stop and start it a million times because I was just not paying attention.
I so thoroughly like, hey, sometimes we have these big budget movies that are on the list that are just like nothing and boring, and we got to find a way to make an episode out of it. And when watching this one, I was like, this is different. This is more. This is much worse in such distinct ways.
What did I miss? Because I was just bored by it the whole time, and I was like, when are they going to become fantastic? They're still just 4.
Well, that was one of my major complaints, the whole thing.
Yeah, they didn't become fantastic until, halfway through the film?
They didn't become fantastic, let alone the Fantastic Four. Them getting powers is the middle of the movie.
Yeah.
And then them becoming the Fantastic Four is the thing that is implied by the cut to the title as the last shot.
Yeah.
You can't call the movie Fantastic Four if they're not going to be fantastic. It's such a pet peeve of mine in superhero movies. You can't call your movie fucking Roadman and then he doesn't make roads the whole movie. No. 20 minutes, maybe 30. And there's so much of this first half that you can cut out to make it fit into 30 minutes instead of 50.
You can't call this film Fantastic Four if they're not 4 years old. I expected Crèches.
Yeah.
I expected Bibs.
Crèches?
a crèche.
No, I don't know. What is that?
No.
No.
Crèche. Hey. It's
Hey.
crèche.
Crèche?
Yeah, crèche.
Crèche?
You know, like a crèche.
Like a crayfish?
Crèche.
Abby, you repeating it doesn't explain it. Explain it to me. Use your words.
Crèche is
What is
like,
a crèche?
well, it's just a crèche.
No. What is a crèche? Use your words.
Are there words
Explain
to
it to
describe
me.
a crèche?
Yes, there are words that explain what a crèche is, and I would like, please.
There's only so many crèches.
What is a crèche, Abigail? Why are you withholding it from me?
It's like a little daycare. It's like dropping off your kids at like a preschool. But it's also like it's not
What
an
makes it different
institution.
then?
It's like, say you go to a swim school, so you're taking your son, your 6-year-old son, Danny. He's the light of your life ever since you and your husband split up 10 years ago,
Sure.
which is odd because he's only 6. He's all you had.
Yeah. And he's already moved on with that fucking woman, Stella.
Yeah, Stella's
Oh my God.
difficult. And what hurts even more is that Danny loves Stella.
Yeah.
And you're not going to say anything bad about Stella. You're not that kind of woman. But
Sure.
there's a lot that could be said about Stella that you hold on to.
You've never said it, but like, you know that she says she's 26, already a bit young for him, but
Yeah.
she's really 21.
Oh, so you drop Danny off,
Yeah.
right? To his swim school, 6 years old, light of my life. And you've got another son. And
What
his
the
name
fuck?
his name is Thomas.
Okay.
Thomas is 3.
I'm
Maybe
into it.
2. No,
3-year-old.
he's 2.
He's 2. Is this
And-
important for the creche?
Yeah. Danny loves swimming.
Here comes the creche, though.
Yeah, here comes the
Oh,
creche.
choo-choo! Creche town.
I'm going to crescendo. So you drop Danny off at his swim school. He loves to swim.
Yeah.
There's tiers of the swim school. You can be...
Enough about
he's
Danny.
a starfish.
Where's the creche?
He's the light of my life.
I know he's the light of your life, but the light of my
the light
life
of-
is a sweet, humble creche.
You don't even know what it is yet.
Oh, but I am so into it. I am keen. You have converted me to cult of creche.
I
Please.
don't think you'll understand the full depth of creche
Praise
unless
be
I
Lord
describe to
Creche.
you the tiers that Danny is currently
I
working through at
need
swim school.
just but one inkling of
the
what a
reason
creche
that Danny
is.
loves swimming so much is that when he was 3, he drowned. And
In a creche?
No, in the sea. I'm
He
getting
drowned.
to the creche.
Wait, he drowned fully?
He
Did
drowned.
he die?
Yeah,
Is he
for a whole minute.
little,
and he saw God.
So you mean he's dead? He's
When
a
he
little
came
ghost
back, when
baby.
they pumped water out of him, he said, "Mama, I saw the face of God. I want to go to swim school."
That's a lot.
That brings me to today.
Is it, so wait,
Danny's
so Danny
turning
came back to
7 in
life or is
3
Danny
days.
dead?
Danny's alive.
Oh, I thought he was a little
We
ghost boy.
think.
Oh.
But he's never been the same since that incident.
Oh.
He just loves to swim.
Yeah.
And then you got Thomas, and he's my 2-year-old. So I take Danny to swim school, and I drop him off. And he goes swimming. He loves to swim.
Okay.
Light of my life. And then I'm like,
Excellent.
well, I should probably monitor Danny because Danny, I've got things to do. I don't need to monitor Danny. I have things to do. I have to go do some shopping.
I
But
can't
I've
wait
also
for my
got...
children to find out what a creche is because I'll pass on what you've said to me to them by the time you're done.
You've got Thomas, and you're like, you know what? I can't deal with Thomas and go shopping, and Danny's swimming, so I'm gonna drop Thomas in a little play den of similarly aged children.
Man, I can't
like a
believe
creche.
it's been 5 years of the podcast already and we still don't know what a creche is. That's insane.
I feel like I just told you and you glossed over it.
What is the creche, though?
I just told you it's a little play den for similarly aged children.
What differentiates it from the things you compared it to?
Like a
like a
daycare?
preschool or a daycare?
Because a
What
preschool is
differentiates
something
it?
that you drop them off at every day and exists only as a preschool. A creche exists within an organization that does other things. So the creche is like the daycare within a swim school.
It's just a play area?
Yeah. Well, no, it's not a play area. It is like a play area, but
It's just a place you put children
No,
for
people
some
watch
time?
over them. There's people hired to watch over the creche. Okay?
You must watch the creche. Yeah, I mean, okay, so we watched fucking Fantastic. There's so much to get through with this episode.
Let's do it.
I'll just get straight into the overview. Here's some key details. This came out in 2015. This was directed by Josh Trank, who also did Chronicle, and then after this he did Capone. We're going to hear a lot about Josh Trank throughout this episode.
I'm ready.
This was written by Jeremy Slater, who we will also come back to, as well as Simon Kinberg. Now, Simon Kinberg plays a lot in this story, especially because he was once the writer of some of the X-Men movies.
Oh.
But we already know him for writing Triple X State of the Union.
Oh, he did sound familiar.
Yeah. It is starring Miles Teller, Michael B. Jordan, Kate Mara, Jamie Bell, and Toby Kebbell.
I don't like Miles Teller. He has a bad energy, in my opinion.
Well, that's because he's a bad person.
Okay,
he's
so
a
he is a
bad,
bad
angry
person.
man. Yeah.
That's good, because I didn't even know that. I just feel like he has that bad, angry man energy.
He is known for starting fights on almost every set he's on, as well as kicking up a big fucking fuss for not getting vaccinated on a set more recently.
Oh my god.
Fuck Miles Teller.
That's awful.
He's great in Whiplash, but his acting in every movie since has not been anywhere near good enough
Yeah.
to justify this kind of behavior. Not that it's justifiable.
Fuck you, Miles Teller.
Yeah. Whereas Michael B. Jordan pre-Black Panther, when we're still going like, damn, that guy is better than this movie, but why is it? And then we see him in something where he's really good and we're like, that's why.
I haven't
He's
seen
that
Black
good.
Panther, but I trust you.
He's really great in it. I think the third act still suffers from Marvel third act, but that movie's great. Oh yeah, and yeah, Toby Kebbell that I know from Rock and Roller, a Guy Ritchie movie that I liked when I was 14 and don't want to revisit, so I can still go, I liked that movie, even though I know it in my heart.
Yeah.
It's not great.
We've got a lot of movies like that.
It's also is it Tim Blake Nelson
Oh, yeah.
from Oh Brother Where Art Thou and Buster
Holes.
Scruggs and Holes. Had Dan Castellaneta in one scene.
Yeah, I did notice that. He's got the most pursed little mouth ever.
He does. He's so distinct. This movie had a budget of $155 million and at the box office made $168 million.
Oh, wow. It's still a flop.
For a tentpole superhero franchise, you know how hard they would have gone on advertising and
Yeah.
pre-production that isn't included in that budget.
Making a $13 million profit when you've spent so much money is no good.
This is less than a third of what the 2005 Fantastic Four.
Fuck.
Interestingly to me, none of the actors have appeared on this list before.
Also, it's tough because I'll also make the disclaimer, I'm not familiar with Fantastic Four. I fucking hate superhero films. I think they're silly. I don't want to watch any other Fantastic Fours, but I don't know what to compare this to, but I know a lot of people love that 2005 Fantastic Four, and I trust that. It was on TV all the time. But this was my first introduction to a Fantastic Four film, and boy, was it underwhelming.
I actually don't know. I think maybe one time I saw the 2005 Fantastic Four, but I did watch its famously mediocre to bad sequel, Fantastic Four and the Rise of the Silver Surfer, because I had it on DVD and my sister watched it a lot. And I, for whatever reason, was really entranced by parts of that movie, even though I knew it was bad at the time. I know an okay amount of Fantastic Four from just cultural osmosis, so I knew exactly what they were not doing well in this movie, like notably Doctor Doom, who in this is just couldn't be more not like Doctor Doom.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
This is my first impression of all these characters, so I don't know what to hold it up to.
Yeah. Well, I'll get into some of the differences later. But for right now, here is the overview. Reed Richards is offered the chance to join a research institute when Professor Franklin Storm spots his teleporter at a high school science fair. There he meets Storm's children, Sue and Johnny, and is put into a team with Storm's protege, Victor Von Doom, to create a quantum gate. They complete the gate, but are disappointed that they will not be the ones manning the expedition to the parallel dimension on the other side. Reed, Johnny, Victor, and Reed's childhood best friend Ben use the gate to visit the other dimension, but the mission quickly falls apart as Victor falls into green energy and the rest of them are attacked by the elements, while Sue, in the real world, pulls them back. The four of them awaken a facility with new powers from their exposure. Reed manages to escape. A year later, he is found with the help of Sue and Ben, who, along with Johnny, have become military assets. With Reed's help, they rebuild the gate to once again explore the other dimension, but they discover Victor is alive, but changed and much more powerful. Victor tries to pull the worlds together to destroy Earth, but the four of them team together to stop him. Returning to Earth, the four of them are rewarded with a new facility where they dub themselves the Fantastic Four. There's a really hyper-condensed version of that. And yet it still feels really winding and overbloated. Like the whole entirety of this movie.
Yeah, I feel like the film is overbloated, but nothing's happening.
Oh, yeah. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Like, I will let you know right now, there's so much production history that we can and will go to, but I do want to just, get your overall thoughts on some of it. What are your questions that I could answer right now about Fantastic Four to contextualize some things?
I mean, I don't know anything about Fantastic Four except what I've watched in this film, if that gives
Okay.
you any indication. But watching this film, I'm like, yeah, this is the exact example of it made me appreciate some of the Marvel films that I have seen, like Thor Ragnarok, of you did something really fun with a superhero film.
Yeah.
Because not all superhero films are bad. I just find that the majority of them are really bad. But this was fucking awful. It made me be it made me hate the genre somehow even more. It made me angry. Yeah, I hated watching this film.
I agree that it's easy to hate because it makes you hate it because this movie is so ashamed of being a superhero movie.
Yeah. It felt
I
like it was trying to be a drama with superhero elements. It didn't even feel like a proper schlocky superhero film. It tried to make it really serious.
Yeah, and that's such a thing. I think since Nolan did it kind of successfully.
Yeah.
But even the Nolan Batman still does goofy Batman shit. I don't know. I hate the
I
whole
feel like it's so serious.
Yeah, but at the same time, in the first one, he does things like go, nice coat, before jumping away, and like we are meant to
true.
laugh. Like there's still some things. Those movies aren't like perfect, but I just hate the trend of like superhero movies that are trying to be taken seriously.
Yeah, exactly. This is like a film that tried to, it was just like, it couldn't make fun of being a superhero film. It was so incredibly serious.
I would
And like,
take
I'll get on side with a shit superhero film if it knows what it is. But this
Yeah.
was like, this is something better. It was fucking awful.
That is one thing that I always liked about Star Wars and that I enjoy about 2 out of 3 of the sequels is that they know that they're silly.
Yeah.
Like they're like, yeah, it's Star Wars. It's fucking weird,
Exactly.
man.
I'll appreciate anything that is self-aware.
Yeah.
I've appreciated lots of bad films in this list because they've been self-aware. It's like, no, it knows exactly what this is. Couldn't appreciate this.
It was so notable to me, the just implicit. When you use words like sexism, it's loaded, right? Because it's not like there's anyone in this movie who's like, a woman can't come with us, a woman isn't capable. However, Kate Mara is the only female character on screen with more than one line.
Yeah.
The only other 2 female characters who appear on screen, not say things, appear at all in the background is one of the 3 science teachers who don't say anything, and Ben and Reed's mums. That's it.
That's grim. There's that line at the end where they're talking about like they're trying to name something and they mention a male name and then I think Kate Mara's character is like or her or she.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, 3 guys and 1 woman. Like they're really trying to like sell it. That they're really trying to ram it down our throats that it's 3 men and 1 woman.
That's the thing. It's
One
like there's
woman.
like fucking 20 characters and 1 woman.
Yeah.
And I know that there's guys out there who still go like, yeah, Fantastic Four is great because there's a woman in it.
Yeah.
And it's like, but there's
she's
fucking,
really hot.
It should be half of them.
She's really hot.
It's fucking so like deep seated and implicit. Like when
Yeah.
they're like drinking and then going like, let's go on the mission. And it's like, there's not even a question of like, why don't we ask Sue to come with us?
Yeah.
Why not?
Gross.
Just ask her.
super gross.
It's fucking wild. And the VFX of this are also really rough.
Yeah, 100%.
Way rougher than I was expecting.
And it's got the classic lots of shadows and blue fucking filters on everything. It's just boring. It's just so boring.
And the other classic CG goo. All CG energy beams, energy powers, flowing energy ends up looking like goo, and I hate it. I hate
Yeah.
it so much.
So my general overview for you is hated it, was really bored. When I watched it, I had to stop it multiple times to just get up and make a coffee or a tea because I just needed a break from it. And then I would return my efforts to watching it for 20 minutes and be like, all right, I need another break. It was a slog. Take me back to Alvin and the Chipmunks, the Chipwrecked, man.
We were on such a high.
That was a good vibe.
Ooh, riding those summer breezes.
Yeah.
Ooh, floating to Flavor Town,
Also,
baby.
what I do know about Fantastic Four, to answer your earlier question,
Uh-huh.
is that what I vaguely know about it, despite having never seen any of them, is that there is some kind of deal where they have to keep making it every couple of years because they're trying to retain some ownership over it. That's like something
Yes.
vaguely that I know is that the reason Fantastic Four comes around again and again is because they're trying to preserve ownership over it for some reason.
Whilst we will see a Fantastic Four movie sooner rather than later, that is no longer the case. That was
Yeah, I feel
explicitly...
like there has been a gap, right?
No, not really. I mean, there was a larger gap between 2007 and 2015 than 2015 and now.
There's another one coming out right now.
It's in development.
Oh,
But
okay.
Specifically, what it was is that Fox owned the rights to Fantastic Four and X-Men. And if they didn't do something with the property, it would eventually go back to Marvel.
Yeah.
Disney really wanted it, and Fox didn't want Disney to get their hands on it. Now, Disney bought Fox in its entirety,
Yeah.
so there's no one for it to go back to.
Yeah, got
right?
you.
They own it.
But like instead of taking like the property and making a different story out of it, they just remade Fantastic Four. That's pretty grim.
I mean, I couldn't possibly think of a movie more like tonally opposed to the 2005 Fantastic Four than Fant Four Stick. But it's funny because that does play into the story, even though I don't have a section about it.
Well, I'm keen to hear the story.
Yeah, let me get into some of the production history.
You prefaced this before we started recording that it would be adjacent to the island of Dr. Moreau,
Yeah.
in that it's very production history heavy, and I want to hear this.
I flavored this like your incredible like whole thing on Island of Dr. Moreau. And one thing I will also say up top, because I should for a number of reasons.
Up top.
I I pulled information about the production history from a number of different sources, but I also pulled quite heavily from Polygon's cover story, The Post-Disaster Artist, which was written by Matt Patches. So
Matt Patches is a great name.
It's a great name. I'll let you know when I'm quoting from
He's made
that.
of rags.
And I get into like a third to a quarter of what he has in his article,
Wow.
which continues on well after the end of
Holy
Fantastic
shit.
Four.
I'm
It's
so excited.
a really, really great thing. I recommend everyone look it up.
All right.
Read
Matt
it.
Patches.
It's really, really
He's
interesting.
like a little patchwork doll. He's made of little rags and he's got buttons for eyes. That's little Matt Patches.
Like in Coraline.
Typing away. And he loves his superheroes.
Because he's not from this world. Anyway, so having broken the record for youngest director with a #1 box office hit with Chronicle, Josh Trank was a hot property. After turning down myriad opportunities, he decided to pursue Fox's offer of a Fantastic Four movie with the goal to make it his own. So he really was getting offers. One of the things that comes back later is he also like got an offer to make a Star Wars movie about Boba Fett, and he was getting offers to make like a Shadow of the Colossus movie. This also includes him intentionally tanking the potential for a Chronicle 2 because he desperately didn't want Chronicle to have a sequel.
Good for him.
And that makes me happy, if not just because his co-writer on the project, Max Landis, really wanted Chronicle 2 to happen.
Max Landis was the co-writer on Chronicle?
Yeah, who went on to make the critically reviled Bright and get accused of sexual and emotional abuse by 8 different women.
Yep, that
So,
sounds about right.
Fuck Max Landis. So Trank's first move was to hire the writer who had helped him initially storyboard Chronicle, Jeremy Slater. Instead of pitching his plan, he just stated straight to Fox that Slater was writing, and the studio nervously agreed. There's no negotiation. He just said, Jeremy's writing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting tactic.
Already. So a recurring thing in this that really fascinates me, we've had so many things on this list where it's like, artist wants to make a movie and the studio interferes.
Yeah.
That happens, but what you'll find a lot is Trank does unintentionally everything in his power to justify that happening. He's like, no one is contributing more to this movie not working than Josh Trank.
Okay. Is he potentially the villain of the piece? Is that what you're setting up, or are there no villains? Is that a sweeping generalization for me to make? I'm just trying to. I want to know the arc of this story.
I wouldn't describe Josh Trank as the villain of this story. He's like a tragic hero where you can see him making mistakes,
but he's not doing them intentionally or maliciously. It's just tragic.
You want him to make it, and you're watching him be the one who's fucking it up.
Oh,
right?
I'm so
like
keen.
That kind of hero.
His fall from grace. He's hot property and is about to completely tank this film.
Yeah.
Josh Tank, more like. Am I right? Up top.
Hey.
Give me some skin.
We're too far away to high five now, but I will throw some of my skin at you.
I feel like we've high-fived a lot in this podcast.
We have. It's usually from you just saying up top and then insisting that we
say it a
high-five.
lot to the point that Claude had to bring it up the other night and say, why do you say that all the time?
Okay.
I'm not going to stop.
So this is a section of that article. Again, Trank came to Slater with a skeleton idea. His Fantastic Four would be the opposite of every other franchise kickoff. The end of the Fantastic Four was going to very organically set up the adventure and the weirdness of the fun. But the first movie was going to be basically the filmic version of how I saw myself at the time. The metaphor of these characters crawling out of hell. Developing the script was a similar clamber. Slater was a badge-carrying nerd ready to convert comic book lore into bombastic CG-ready set pieces. Trank was the opposite, having seen a few episodes of the Fantastic Four cartoon from the mid-90s and having a general distaste for comic book movies. The first Avengers movie had recently come out, and I kept saying, that should be our template. That's what audiences want to see, Slater said. And Josh just fucking hated every second of it.
So he didn't like superhero films.
Yeah.
And he signed on to do a superhero film.
Yes.
Mistake number 1.
Well, because this is the beginning of the tragedy, is that he signed on to it with the idea in his head of, I'm not making Fantastic Four, I'm making Josh Trank's Fantastic Four, right?
So he was going to try and humanize it a bit more rather than make it a superhero film.
So if you haven't seen Chronicle...
I haven't.
Chronicle is like... I always used to get that movie confused with Super 8. It is like found footage-ish a bunch of young friends find like crystals or whatever and then get superpowers and then they end up turning on each other. Ooh, dark, grounded version of superheroes thing. Oh, yeah. Like I said at the beginning, it was a #1 at the box office.
But was it well received?
Yes. Other directors were praising him.
Oh, wow.
A notable thing in the lead up to this is like Spielberg was praising him. George Lucas was praising him. So that's why he was such a hot property.
Yeah.
Like I said, the youngest director ever to have.
How old was he?
He was 25 or 26 when his movie was #1 at the box office.
What an asshole. I'm 26 and my movie isn't even made.
And our podcast is number 10,700.
It's amazing. You know off the top of your head, eh?
No,
You're
I
not
don't.
counting that figure going up and up.
I have no idea.
We're not on any list, Michelle.
Oh. Yeah, so that's part of it. But so he had that sort of idea of he was going to do the same thing. Actually, I did find, for example, at one point he had floated making this part of the same world as Chronicle. Like he wanted to make his version of it. But Jeremy Slater, I think, was the one who had the right idea and came in probably closer to what the studio wanted. And it's the fucking Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Campy as hell property from the 60s. You got to make it fun and silly.
You got to make it fun and silly. There's no reason to watch it otherwise.
I couldn't include all of it, but there's so much of Jeremy Slater talking about like showing him movies and comics and different characters and Trank just nixing all of it.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Shit.
Slater estimated that he wrote nearly 18 drafts and 2,000 pages of material during his time in Fantastic Four. Only 2 of those drafts made it to the studio. In an effort to retain control, Trank acted as the messenger between Fox and Slater, leaving certain studio notes out of their conversations and only delivering certain drafts to the studio for feedback. Right from the start of the process, Josh told me I wasn't allowed to speak with Fox without him present, Slater said. I never saw 95% of those notes. About 6 months after beginning, Slater left the project.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Did he got credited, right? Like he was...
Oh, yeah. Like he got credited and paid for his time.
Who stepped in to finish off the script?
Well, that's what I'm about to get at. But you can see already, like, this
is fraught.
Trank is very focused. Very focused on making his movie.
Yeah, 100%.
So the studio hired superhero veteran Simon Kinberg to help finish off the script. A source close to the production told Matt Patches the only
Patches.
The only 2 weapons a movie.
He's the death metal goblin that we were talking about. When you listen to death metal, Matt Patches comes out with his little button eyes and asks you what you're wearing. We're on to you, Matt.
But he did write this one article for Polygon.
Yeah, well, he's a great guy.
Yeah, love him.
Look, he's a bit of a creep, but he's a great guy, and he means well.
The only 2 weapons the movie has are its script and its director, and this had neither.
Oh.
Yeah. We're not even getting into it yet, but like Trank is increasingly erratic the whole time. This is related, but a side thing. Trank also made waves by insisting he cast his friend and Chronicle alum Michael B. Jordan as Johnny Storm, a character who's traditionally white, right?
Yeah.
The online uproar over the decision plagued Trank, who said, I was getting threats on IMDb message boards saying they were going to shoot me. To find some level of ease, the director kept a loaded 38 special on his nightstand.
IMDb gets like that, man.
Yeah.
We can attest to how wild those boards get on IMDb.
This guy's chronically online, and it's his downfall.
Chronically online, that's pretty good.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I can't believe that he read some forums and was like, yep, I need to arm myself. Like, these are just people.
It's different when you're a public figure because and you're not used to it. Because remember, this guy's like our age.
I mean, he's also clearly a public figure in America because I don't know any Australian public figure that would get a handgun to arm themselves because of IMDb.
It's a very American thing to go like, I need to make myself safe. I'll get something that makes everything less safe.
Yeah, not get better security for my house, make sure that my privacy is protected. It's no, I'm going to shoot someone.
We just lost 10 subscribers.
And they were all American.
Yeah. He later admitted that he also wanted to cast a black actress for the role of Susan Storm.
Yeah.
Because, of course, they're siblings.
Yeah.
But that the studio insisted on retaining her ethnicity for the film.
Oh, wow.
I was mostly interested in a black Sue Storm and a black Storm family. When you're dealing with a studio in a massive movie like that, everybody wants to keep an open mind to who the big stars are going to be. I found a lot of pretty heavy pushback on casting a black woman in that role. He added that being denied a black Black Susan Storm should have convinced him to step away from the project.
Yeah, because the whole thing of Kate Mara's character being adopted into the Storm family was so strange. I was like, why did they get Kate Mara and they could have gotten just a black actress?
You can feel the pushback.
But because I don't know enough about Fantastic Four, I was like, that's really weird. I guess it's part of the lore, like
it's
a dummy.
Not. But this is the I guess this is the first act turn. Like this is the final out that he doesn't take.
But he commits and he enters the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we're into the production, which is maybe the shorter section, but this is another straight quote from the article, by the way. Trank faced immense pressure as he worked on the script, storyboards, pre-visualized set pieces, and casting, and much of it was born from his own anxieties. The director came from behind with Chronicle and was suddenly in charge of something that everyone expected to be a huge success. A quote from Trank, "That requires a degree of experience that we often underestimate," which is, again, a huge thing. Like, I don't have it here, but he also has this whole quote where he's talking about, like, you get onto these kinds of studio things and suddenly you're working with, like, the guy who's been Robert Zemeckis' production designer for 20 years and has an Oscar and doesn't give a fuck about what you have to say because he knows how to do his job. All he cares about is if your answer is yes or no.
Yeah.
And even that needs to go by the studio.
Fuck.
So he's just fully not prepared for this, a fundamentally different job than directing an indie movie.
Wow.
And we've seen this happen so many times with people like Colin Trevorrow and Mark Webb and these like little indie directors who are instantly vaulted to studio and then go...
Not prepared for the battle
not
against the
prepared.
studio, yeah.
Trank fought to cast Miles Teller, but Teller's "I'm a movie star now" approach to acting, which involved questioning even the most low-impact performance requests, caught him off guard. Teller and Trank allegedly got close to a fist fight on set, along with repeated reports of Trank bullying Kate Mara due to his frustration over her casting.
Oh, great. So everyone's
Yeah.
happy.
I'll come back to that in the trivia. I have a quote
lead,
from her.
the one of 3 females present,
Yeah,
gets bullied
yeah,
because some guy is an asshole.
Yeah.
That's great.
pretty much.
That's fantastic. Also, Miles Teller did just come off the back of Whiplash, right? This was what, 2015?
Yeah,
So he'd just come out of Whiplash's success of 2014.
yeah.
So he was at the peak of his career, which would just make him worse.
Well, yeah, exactly. He's just a young guy who's like, oh, I can do anything I want.
He's a young, pudgy-faced, stupid dude. Fuck you.
Miles Teller. There was never bad news per se, but the general feeling was that war could erupt at any moment. Early in production, Trank left his dogs in a rented house in New Orleans where they proceeded to cause as much as $100,000 in damages. He then learned from set that one of his dogs was at the vet after chewing up some vitamins. By the next morning, the dog had died, and the director had the most emotionally aggressive cry I ever had in my life.
Why would he... So he left... How long were the dogs left alone for? A day?
It's not like they were left entirely unsupervised. They were shooting in New Orleans, which
Yeah.
I guess I should have rephrased to
So he
to
left
specify.
2 dogs in a house empty.
It just said several small dogs in the article.
Several small dogs.
I don't know what that means.
How many dogs? You know what he needs for these little dogs? He needs a crèche.
Jesus.
It's a little dog crèche.
I assume it was more that this is a place they were shooting and he was staying, but because of everything he had to do,
Yeah.
unable to supervise them directly.
No,
and
I'm
that's
not
why they're
judging
able
him
to
for
close-
not
yeah,
being able
sure.
to take care of his dogs for like a day. But
his dog fleet.
yeah, exactly. His crew. But it sounded like he had left them unguarded for like
Yeah.
a couple of days. If he like popped out for the day and one of them died because of eating vitamins, that's truly tragic and sad.
Yeah,
and
it
of
is.
course he'd be upset.
It is genuinely upsetting, which is kind of why I included it, to know, like, hey, a lot of the story in this is pre and post, but even the production was fucking rife with trouble. So now we're getting into the beginning of post, which is really where it fucks up.
Yeah,
right?
and I'm sure you'll enjoy this because you're the post girl.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is all about how
Post girl tells
fuck up
pre girl a
post-production.
story.
Hell yeah.
I'm pre girl.
Oh, I am post girl.
Oh my god! Your superhero is you going from pre girl to post girl.
Yeah.
Oh my god! If you ever made a company, it should be called Post Girl.
Fuck.
That's so good.
Fuck have I never thought of that?
That's so good.
Trademark. You're registered.
Sorry, I got it first. I was like
No!
texting something as I was saying.
No!
Get in touch with my lawyer. His name is Matt Patches.
That's a verbal trademark. You can't. The first cut of Fantastic Four caught studio executives off guard. They told the director the movie wasn't the marketable romp anyone hoped for. It wasn't for fans. The morose tone would make people uncomfortable. It made them uncomfortable. That was the goal, he told me, at least for him. So it's again from Matt Patches. And the studio started to describe it as like violent and upsetting. And you can
Oh my God.
you can see some of that in the things like where he makes Tim Blake Nelson's like head explode.
Yeah.
Right? Like that bit is the tone of the Josh Trank movie.
Right, okay.
Right. And a notable bit was when Victor falls into the green energy and he looks like he's getting like ripped apart.
Yeah.
Which I thought, even though the VFX were shoddy, was genuinely intense.
Yeah.
In a way that was positive in that that's what was intended,
Yeah.
but negative in that it was really rubbing up of the rest of the movie.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's the kind of movie that he was trying to make.
Yeah,
And the studio didn't like it.
of course. They were like, we wanted something fun we could sell to people.
Yeah.
This is disturbing.
And again, this is 2015. This is like peak Marvel era. Like,
Yeah. And I as much as I talk about, production studios getting in the way of people's creativity, you're working for a place. You're
Yeah.
a director for hire. They can replace you. They should replace you if you're not doing the job they need you to do. It's still a business. And I know that you have an artistic vision, but you're getting paid to make a film for them.
I think as well, like, studio interference can feel like when a boss is micromanaging you and you would do better without their direct supervision. And that's valid.
Yeah.
But the idea of studio notes isn't inherently bad.
No.
Because notes are good because you, the one person, don't know everything.
And the thing is, that boss still has an expectation of you. So you shouldn't be micromanaged, but there's a reason that you have a manager. There's expectations you're supposed to
Yeah.
fulfill.
That being said, I think he'd be better off making just movies for a commune. There's several directors who just like work entirely outside of the industrial
Yeah.
system, and it's fantastic.
And he had just come off the back of Chronicle. He could have done that.
He could have done that. A direct comparison that Matt Patches make is to
I love
both
Matt Patches.
both Greta Gerwig, who like circled around directing for a long time, and Ryan Coogler, who rather didn't go straight from Fruitvale Station to Black Panther. He did Creed in between, which had a lower budget,
Oh, yeah.
right? Like the stepping stone is important, right? Now, yeah, this is where it's really starting to get sad. Fox began to hire other writers to write pages and scenes for reshoots without Trank's input. Trank ended up trying to write pages himself, but these went ignored by Fox. Around this time, Fox hired Stephen Rivkin, editor of the Pirates of the Caribbean and Avatar films, to come in and lead the edit. Rivkin shut out Trank and became, as he described, the de facto director of the film. After complaining to the Directors Guild, Fox agreed to negotiate a new deal in which Trank would re-edit the movie while Fox worked on its own cut, with each cut getting screened for test audiences.
Shit.
Yeah. And yeah, this guy, Stephen Rivkin, really does, like, from what else I read, just lead the edit entirely and just not
Wow.
include Trank. And he's the kind of editor who's also been, like, an associate producer on things. Trank also described him as, like, the kind of editor who cuts for pacing rather than cutting for performance. So choosing a shot rather than... because Miles Teller moves out of it quicker rather than the line reading, which
Yeah.
to me explains some of the fucking atrocious line readings in this,
Yeah.
especially by Miles Teller. Yeah, and Trank also said, like, almost every performance decision he made, Rivkin changed. Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for Trank, the two versions of Fantastic Four were never truly in a face-off. In January 2015, he realized that, and this is a quote from Trank, there was no path out of hell. And that the studio had already spent 3 months plus millions of dollars for planned rewrites and reshoots that would fit Rivkin's cut.
Oh my God.
Because, of course, the studio has the looming hard deadline of the Fantastic Four rights elapsing.
Right, of course.
So
At
the
this point, it's like Rivkin's fucking film.
Yes.
As an editor, he's recutting it as a story.
He's uncredited as director, but I see him on some web pages credited as directing it as well.
Wow.
Yeah. So like the fact that they spent 3 months with these reshoots, despite that looming hard deadline, really tells you how much they didn't.
How much they hated it.
how much they hated
they
it.
weren't willing to compromise on it.
Trank spent the remainder of the reshoots trying to appease the producers and continue editing his cut in the futile attempt to salvage what was left. It was so sad reading at how much he was like trying to still edit in the hopes that they would pick one of his scenes and drop it into Rivkin's cut, and they just didn't do it at all.
Oh my God, that is sad.
Yeah, as well as him on set realizing that like he would show up and the producers and Rivkin were already there talking about blocking. Everyone was doing their job. And he would just, a few months ago, he would have kicked up a fight and he just stopped doing that to try and be nice to them. And because of that, they would turn to him and go like, hey, what do you think of this choice? And he said like, he basically always had to say, yeah, it's good. He realized he had no say anymore.
Oh my God.
But he's still showing up to work every day.
His spirit got fucking broken.
He basically got fired but was still there.
It just seems like this weird form of, instead of just letting him go and expressly just telling him what was happening. We've encountered this a lot.
Yeah.
When production studios decide to do something and they don't inform the director but keep them hanging around. That is just a way to break someone's entire spirit, their confidence, their ego, is by letting them come to set and giving them no power.
He only is allowed to do this other edit because he complained to his union.
Wow.
You know? However, whispers of the turmoil even reached Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm, whose confidence in Trank was shaken by the on-set disputes. After being asked to sit out his appearance at the Star Wars Celebration in 2015, Trank left the Boba Fett project, knowing he would otherwise be fired.
Oh my God.
Fantastic Four, this is a quote from him, Fantastic Four, the Star Wars spin-off that wasn't, all the other development deals, they were the end of something.
Wow. This is so sad.
Yeah.
I'm getting like these really sad chills just thinking about this man's promising career crumbling. And it is... Look, it's not entirely his fault. I think they should have understood his style and they should have had more talks about what the ideas for this project were before they started shooting it.
I think they shouldn't have courted him.
Exactly. And if they did court him and then they realized, oh, your vision isn't our vision, they should have stepped in and stopped. They should have replaced him.
Yes.
Because they wanted a different film, and that's fine. But he should have been put into a different project.
I think once Jeremy Slater left, they should have also let go of Josh Trank.
They should have kept Jeremy Slater and replaced Josh Trank, because it sounds like Jeremy Slater had his head in the right place for it.
I read someone broke down basically his treatment, and it sounded like it would have been like
a really good stock standard.
Yeah, pretty decent.
Yeah.
It certainly sounded a lot more like Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
As the release date drew closer, Trank posted a now infamous tweet that reads, "A year ago, I had a fantastic version of this, and it would have received great reviews. You'll probably never see it. That's reality, though." The backlash was immediate, with some analysts saying the tweet alone cost them $10 million at the box office.
Oh my God.
Because this is a huge movie, a huge tentpole movie coming out, and suddenly the director is saying, it's not going to be good. You'll never see the good version.
Good for him.
But not good for him.
No.
In the Matt Patches article, this is actually like the framing device. It begins with the tweet and then rewinds to his childhood.
Yeah.
Because the tweet is so notable. Another director, I can't remember his name. I love
that it begins with that tweet. I love the idea of like this film about this story where like a guy's hunched over his laptop, sending out this malicious tweet.
Yeah.
Drinking a glass of really expensive whiskey. He hasn't slept in days. And then it's like, that's me. Guess you're wondering how I got here.
There's a lot more in the article that I've got here that also talks about how he's like in his room going insane after that tweet because he just withdraws entirely.
Oh, wow.
Joe Carnahan, who was the director of Mission Impossible 3, publicly noted that he is glad that Twitter wasn't around when he had the same problem, because he had the same thing where Joe Carnahan directed Narc, a small film from 2002, and then immediately got put onto Mission Impossible 3, where he then conflicted heavily with Tom Cruise and Paula Wagner. However, he left the project and continued to have a good career after. He did not fire off a tweet that made studios massively
really
angry.
Yeah, cost them $10 million.
this is the conclusion. Trank secluded himself for months, trying to avoid the humiliation of making such a colossal bomb and the ire of the studio for his tweet. Of the time, he said, "I didn't want to be a big filmmaker anymore. That's all I ever wanted. I didn't know what I was anymore." He had no interest going back to where he was before Fantastic Four either.
Oh, wow.
The happy sort of epilogue, because that is the end of the Fantastic Four story.
Give me something. Give me a little treat. Come on.
The happy
Give me like a little yum 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 yum.
epilogue is that
Epilogue.
he afterwards realized, he obviously didn't want to do things like that anymore, but he also didn't want to do the classic technique of just pivoting to TV and pilots, and he really still wanted to make movies. So he wrote a project about Al Capone and felt desperate because he managed to get Tom Hardy on board, but then Tom Hardy kept delaying it. So he spent an entire year just like going back and forth between 3 different places only for it to get delayed. His assistant in the article talks about leaving him with some KFC, going to pay for the petrol they'd just gotten, and coming back to him scooping the potato mash, the potato and gravy into his mouth while crying because he just felt like he was going nuts.
Oh my God.
But then the Capone movie got made, which apparently...
With Tom Hardy. Yay!
Apparently it has middling reviews, but I haven't seen it, so I won't criticize too heavily or anything. Especially because Matt Patches talks about on set, Josh Trank seems like a different changed man. And he talks a lot about how he went back in and realized his own white privilege, which even though he's Jewish, he still carries that, as well as him realizing his anger issues and where that was sourced from. I kind of really appreciate that.
Because I feel like there's a lot of things at play as to what happened with this film, but it sounds like he did have an ego and he was difficult to work with, and he was, as you say, nixing people's good ideas, and he was completely obsessed with his own vision rather than collaborating. So it sounds like it's good that his ego got shattered. I just wish that it wasn't at such a heavy cost.
Yes. I mean, that's what I mean when I say he's like the tragic hero of the story. The studio interferes, but they interfere in a lot of ways because he is fucking it up.
Exactly. He isn't delivering what they needed from him, but they should have stamped down on that sooner. Everyone's at fault except Jeremy Slater. There
is, for example, a side story about one of the, basically each of the visual effects, The Thing, Invisible Girls, Force powers, all of them were handled by different post houses, but one of them, Otoy, was hired to work, was a really small company who instantly realized they were in way over their head and described Josh Trank as generally unresponsive and erratic.
Oh, wow.
Constantly changing his mind, which is another feature of what I read about a lot of the production stories. So that is the tragic tale of Josh Trank and Fent Forstick.
Wow, that was amazing. That was so tragic. I felt my heart breaking for him, and I was angry at him the whole time.
But I honestly wish him his success on whatever comes after Capone.
You know what, man? It sounds like you've changed for the better.
Yeah.
And you went through a really harrowing experience. So Josh Trank, I don't challenge you to a fist fight.
Nice.
All right? I challenge you for a long, warm embrace on a sunny day.
On the
top of a mountain.
Ooh.
Completely naked.
Oh.
I'm always naked.
But that's true.
I'm naked right now.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my birthday suit.
Ooh.
And it's not even my birthday.
Oh, well, then God, put some fucking...
Oh my God, you're right.
It's not your birthday.
Why am I naked?
What the hell?
What the fuck?
Hey, do you want to hear some trivia?
Yes.
IMDb trivia!
As if I haven't just heard half an hour of trivia already.
Okay, but that's not trivia. That's a story.
Tell me trivia.
This is trivia. I have a lot, and this is...
Oh, wow.
I do have a lot, and this is a third of what I had initially put down.
I thought your trivia would be small because of how much...
Nope.
Wow, okay, let's get into it.
Because this is stuff that doesn't fit into the story, but is still trivia.
Yeah.
You should look at the IMDb trivia page on this.
How many items?
I didn't even begin to count. It was so many.
Fuck. Remember how Raw 1 had 281?
Yeah. Normally, I don't like the X and Y was considered for this role, but I love this one. Mads Mikkelsen auditioned for the role of Dr. Doom, but walked out from his audition.
Probably because of Josh Trank.
Yeah, there's 2 parts to that. One, Mads Mikkelsen as Dr. Doom, fucking inspired. Incredible choice. Toby Kebbell fucking did his best with what he's got, but Mads Mikkelsen for Doctor Doom is like a born fit. But him walking out from the audition, the bad performance of this film in terms of box office is reported, as well as the on-set drama, is reportedly what got Miles Teller dropped from La La Land. Because he was initially the Ryan Gosling role.
Oh, no way. He would have been terrible.
Yeah, it would have been bad.
He's not as charismatic.
Oh, yeah.
I've never understood the appeal of Ryan Gosling, but if someone was like, which lead do you want in this rom-com? Do you want Miles Teller or Ryan Gosling? I think I know who I'm choosing.
Especially because, like, I really enjoyed La La Land. And, like, part of the key to Seb's character is that, like, he is kind of annoying and intolerable, but he's also really charming, and you get it. You're drawn into understanding what he's about with Emma Stone.
Miles Teller would have just been insufferable.
Would have just been a fucking snobby, annoying git. This is one of my favorite pieces of trivia because it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy.
Is it Matt Patches?
Former Fox CEO Rupert Murdoch expressed distaste for the movie, solely blaming it for one of Fox's worst fiscal quarters, earning hundreds of millions lower than their expectations. Good
for you, Josh Trank. Good for you.
Good for you. Although I wonder if you could probably tie that to them needing to get bought out by Disney, and that sucks.
Maybe.
But, you know, fuck Rupert Murdoch.
Yeah.
Rupert Murdoch, if you're listening...
It's really good.
Oh, yeah, watch Succession. But Murdoch, if you're listening...
Which you are.
We know you're a listener.
You don't have to hide it.
Yeah. Fuck you.
Yeah, fuck you.
The 3D conversion of this film, which was touted as being impressive by Simon Kinberg, a fact that I think is really funny, was cancelled to fund reshoots. It was even edited out of the initial poster that advertised that the movie would be shown in 3D in the first place, although the line "in premium large format theaters" still appears.
Nice.
Similarly, all of the promotional material features them in like a broken and destroyed cityscape, and literally not a single scene takes place in a destroyed cityscape.
Yeah. Oh god, that's
something definitely got cut.
Oh my god.
During a conversation with Emmy Magazine in October 2020, Kate Mara admitted that she had a horrible experience on Fantastic Four. She pointed out that she had 2 horrendous experiences working with male directors and added, "Have I not gotten along with a female director? Absolutely. And was it not the greatest work experience? Sure. But there was never a time that I felt this is happening because I'm a woman."
Yeah.
Where with the male directors, it 100% was only happening with me. It was a power dynamic thing.
Oh god.
Yeah.
That's such a good insight as well.
Really good insight.
Because of course, yeah, like there's women aren't perfect people either. You can get like there's always difficult women in the film industry, but you're right, it's never because you're a woman.
That's one of the things that I hate about the conversation about sexism is that it like creates this weird dynamic where women have to be perfect, otherwise the patriarchy is right.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's like what we said, like women can't direct a movie without it being mediocre, otherwise women can't direct anything.
Yeah.
That's fucking insanity.
Oh my god, it's so true.
I loved this one because of how brutally it was written. Reed shows Sue 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, commenting that Captain Nemo invents a submarine that goes deeper than anything in history. This suggests that Reed doesn't know that the 20,000 leagues refers to the distance traveled while under the sea, not the depth. The rest of the movie suggests he's smarter than that.
Who wrote that? Was it Matt Patches?
Maybe. In September, this is one of my favorite pieces of trivia I've ever read. In September 2015, so right after it came out, Tommy Wiseau expressed enthusiasm in directing a sequel, having personal admiration for the film.
I wish. Oh, hi, Sue.
Do you want to hear some reviews?
Yeah.
Reviews! This has 9% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Pretty bad.
It has 4.3 on IMDb. It actually has 4.2 now, so it's lower than when we locked off.
Oh, wow.
Pamela McClintock of The Hollywood Reporter said, "The worst grade that anyone can remember for a marquee superhero title made by a major Hollywood studio." So that's part of Trank's embarrassment. Peter Travers of The Rolling Stone said, "The cinematic equivalent of malware and worse than worthless."
Cinematic equivalent of malware is pretty fucking good.
Pretty good.
That's a burner.
I get why that guy writes.
Yeah. Yeah, that guy writes. Yeah, he writes.
This is an IMDb review titled "Excellent Movie" by Scorpio7909.
I wonder what the star sign is.
7909.
Oh, right.
I do not understand the low rating for this movie. I am a movie fanatic and have seen thousands of movies in my lifetime, and this movie wouldn't remotely make my top 100 bad movies of all time. Technically, it didn't make ours. Clearly, the reviewers rating this 1 star have never seen a truly god-awful movie, and I have seen so many bad movies, it's ridiculous. First of all, this is not a prequel, which is what I first thought, since it's based on the same 4 people, different actors, as young adults in college: Sue Storm, Johnny Storm, Reed Richards, and Ben Grimm. This movie is another telling of the first Fantastic Four made in 2005 and has nothing to do with that movie or the second one, Silver Surfer. Based on that alone, I'm sure there will be a second one with these same actors, but there's no relation between this and the 2005 movie of the same name. If you liked the first Fantastic Four movie, you should like this too, as it's just another version with different actors. Give it a chance and ignore the bad reviews, because it was really quite good.
I'm glad that after 1,000 movies, they've learned how to distinguish between 2 different movies.
What I really just don't get is what the relationship is between 2015 Fantastic Four and 2005 Fantastic
I think
Four.
you need to lay it out for us again.
I really wish they elaborated. Here's another review called Old Ideas in Old Ideas in Today's World Greet with the Times. Sorry, actually,
That's my favorite Bob Dylan song.
Geet with the Times. By Graveyard Shift 1980.
Oh, gothic.
The biggest problem I keep running into with movies inspired by comics are change. I get that people can be and are naturally resistant to change. Many of today's comics were
Glad
created...
they have a philosophical approach to this. It's not about the quality, it's about your mindset.
This sentence. Many of today's comics were created in a time where racism and difference meant something bad.
Let's keep going. Let's keep going. I don't even know how to linger on that.
Agree with that comment or not?
No. No, it's a not.
Today's movie is centered on old comic books ideas and uniting them with what we want today. I see nothing wrong with this. 90% of comments on this movie say something about the Human Torch being black. Well, I say shame on you. I am proud to be a fan of comics in a time where we are attempting to break boundaries with old ideas into a new age. And if you can't grasp that, then again, shame on you. 10 out of 10.
No, they're right. Racism, we had a real breakthrough with the 2015 release of Fantastic Four.
I mean, this person's hit onto something that maybe this movie is lower than it should be because of Black Johnny Storm.
I don't think Black Johnny Storm is really the issue.
Also, yeah, this movie's bad enough that it kind of earns it anyway.
Yeah, they have their heart in the right place. You go Graveyard Shift 1980.
Really got to work on your phrasing.
You really got to work on your tone.
Tone is all over the place, but I love the sentiment.
Yeah. You're a good guy, Graveyard Shift 1980. You're a good guy.
Here is a really short review titled Outer Space by Mike Purp. These characters gain special abilities by a fluke accident. I like the female superpowers. It's a good movie. 10 out of 10. What I like about the phrase I like the female superpowers is it implies that it's not her superpowers in particular.
It's all of female superpowers. Yes. Cooking, cleaning. Yeah.
Abigail.
That's all I can do.
Here is another review, a last one, titled Yes by Bartholomew Bowell.
Bartholomew Bowell?
I had to include this because I need to crowdsource what it means.
Okay, all right, let's get some input.
Sorry, I'm giggling.
Stop that. We're very serious.
Good burger, fries, movie, good...
No, it's a slam poem. It's a slam poem.
Okay,
good
let me try
burger,
again.
fries.
No. Let me try again. Good burger, fries, movie, good yum, best movie, good watch, Doom burgers. 10 out of 10. That's all one sentence.
That's my favorite review ever. We've had some good. That's it. That's what I was after. That's remarkable.
Well, knowing that you can't top the lyricism of that review, what is your review?
Wait, before I give you my review,
Sure.
Can you read it out like a slam poem as well?
Good burger, fries movie, good yum, best movie, good watch, Doom burgers. 10 out of 10.
Snaps to that. It's so true. What's my review? Sorry, I'm just getting performance anxiety following that one.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard.
I hated it, and the story. It's me. I hated it. The fact that I had to stop 20 minutes at a time to just take a breather and try and get back to the monotony of the film, and then to find out the absolute pathetic debacle of its production from start to finish.
Yeah.
But
Oof.
that was good timing. That's what I think of your fucking film. I think I simply could not watch this again, ever, ever, ever. And it made me detest superhero films even more than I did, than I thought was possible. I'm giving this bad boy a 1.5 out of 10, man. It's pretty low.
I think that's fair.
How about you?
Going into this movie, I hadn't read through all of this production history, but I knew it as a noted case of bad production history, and also I'd heard people talk about Josh Trank talking about it in 2020.
Yeah.
So I knew that this was troubled production, studio interference. What I wasn't expecting was to so thoroughly dislike Josh Trank's vision as well.
Yeah.
This isn't a case of, there's a good movie nestled in there.
There was never a good movie.
Yeah, I don't think he had a good movie about Fantastic Four. I think he had a decent sci-fi $50 million blockbuster. This whole movie, when the Battlestar Galactica does a 3-hour miniseries before a TV show.
And it's not very good.
It's not very good.
Yeah.
That's what this is, right? But that's not what this movie is, and it's also not what the other half of this movie is, which is a Fantastic Four movie. So between that, the VFX are bad, and also I don't know. I just think it was never going to be good, even though I appreciate Josh Trank's evolution. His when a caterpillar comes out of the cocoon into a butterfly. They emerge. Josh Trank has emerged from his chrysalis as a brand new butterfly that still made a movie that has 40% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh my god, my drag name would be Chrysalis. Go on.
I think I agree with you in sentiment, but I'm going to give it a 2.3.
Nice.
Because at the very least, there's still these individual moments where I'm it's not made by someone incompetent. It still resembles a movie. It just is 5 movies on top of each other.
Yeah, that's it. It does resemble a high budget film.
Yeah.
It looks like a high budget film.
Bad VFX notwithstanding.
Yeah.
And also a complete absence of story structure with notwithstanding.
Yeah.
Well, that was fantastic. Please follow us on social media if you can. You can find us on Twitter at RateDescendPod, on TikTok at RatingDescending, or you could email us at ratingdescending@gmail.com. Please email us. I love to read the emails. I will read out emails if you so like.
Put a disclaimer. You can even tell us to do it in a funny voice. We'll do it.
Yeah.
We'll suck your dick, baby. We'll do anything.
Well, I can't guarantee I'll suck your dick, but what I can guarantee is that if you request feats of skill or vocal alacrity of me, I will attempt.
Michelle's very good at throwing daggers at people on spinning boards.
Mm-hmm. I'll live stream it.
Yeah.
And this is what the quote they're gonna pull when they show the local woman kills friend in freak accident.
And don't forget to find us on our personal accounts. You can find me on Insta under Abigail J. Ward.
Or you could find me on Twitter and Instagram at Michelle.St.Clair.
And don't forget to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. It really makes a difference.
I also want to plug I know we have a bunch of listeners in Sydney. If you're in Sydney around the time of this release, the Made in the West Festival is going to feature a film that I edited called Toy Boy.
It got nominated for an award.
It is nominated for a whole bunch of awards.
You got nominated for an award. You got nominated for Best Editor, Made in the West.
Shout out to Nicole Del Prado, the director of that, who was also nominated, I'm pretty sure.
Shout out to you, Michelle, for getting nominated.
Thank you.
So successful.
If you're in Sydney, buy a ticket and go and vote for Toy Boy, pretty please.
Also, I'd like to plug.
Ooh.
Michelle will be throwing daggers at a person on a spinning board. So don't forget to buy tickets. We're dropping it on the Twitter. I got nothing, baby. I got nothing.
Well, Abby, what are we watching next week?
Next week we are watching Marmaduke.
Like the dog, the newspaper dog,
Like the dog.
the dog. Is that the one? The Owen Wilson's in it, or is he in a different
isn't
dog
that
movie?
Marley and Me or whatever?
Oh, who fucking knows?
I don't know.
Who cares?
Everyone was like, I cried so much.
They're all just fucking. He's a big dog.
Dogs die, man.
And he messes it up.
Grow up.
All this dog does is fucks it up time and time again.
All this dog does is fuck.
I don't want to see this rude dog make a mess of everything. I've already seen Beethoven.
Well, catch us there, guys.
Yeah, hear me getting angry about Mama Juke.
Bye.